Okay. Thanks, everyone.
All right, you ready for me to share screen?
Please.
And since I won't be able to see, if anybody pops anything into the chat, Brandy, can you? All right. Oh, wrong one. All right. Sorry, I'm technology illiterate some days. So can we see the screen? Is everything good?
Looks perfect.
All right. So as Brandy said, my name is Shelly Grooms. I'm the program director for Message from Me. My organization is Trying Together. If you're not familiar with us, we are an early childhood advocacy, community resource, professional development organization located in the Pittsburgh area. But we do support the 10 counties surrounding Allegheny County, which houses Pittsburgh. So most of southwestern PA. We just support all of the people doing the work with young children and families and everything around that. So that's sort of who we are. But I'm here today to talk about Message from Me. So Message from Me is a digital tool that actually is sponsored by PNC Grow Up Great. So it is free to use, which is absolutely wonderful for programs to have access to something like this. It serves as a tool for children to communicate with their families about their daily activities and learning experiences through the use of pictures and recorded voice messages. It's primarily used on an iPad. If programs don't have access to an iPad, we do have grants through PNC Grow Up Great that will provide those for classrooms. But the main goal of it is to engage families in the child's educational experience and strengthen that homeschool connection, which we know is always something we're looking to do in our programs. The use of this tool really, it's backed by science. It was developed by Carnegie Mellon University, along with some teachers in the Southwestern Pennsylvania area. So it was made by teachers for teachers, but with that Carnegie Mellon kind of backing. So it really supports the communication skills, digital well-being, and that quality interaction, not only between the children and their peers at school, but also the children and their grown-ups at home. So I like to kind of start off by showing a short video that shows Message from Me in action. This video was taken a few years ago in a Pittsburgh public school preschool classroom. And I do think a kindergarten classroom is also highlighted, but it just shows the children engaging with the tool.
Who do you want to send your message to?
Hi, I can count by 2's mom. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
So, friends, we're here today and we're talking about Message from Me, and we're going to tell other people about how we use it.
You gotta take a picture of something that you want to take a picture of, and then you gotta talk about it, and then somebody will get it. And every day I get to send a message to my family.
The kids will send photos of things that we do day to day that are just routine things, like morning work, and they'll show their family, and they have just taken full ownership of the whole process.
I look for my profile, and I'm on the second row, so I push me.
Who do you want to send your message to?
Then I choose who I want to send my message to. Like if I want this to send it to Ms. Capizoli, I push this button.
Is this the picture you want to share? What did you take a picture of?
Hi, Mom, Ms. Capizoli. I took a picture of the plants that we made at the freaking hill. And the vines is growing. And when I'm done talking, when I hear a message and I think it's good, I push send.
They're just excited to share things about what they're doing here at school too.
So, as you can see, Message from Me is a child-led tool that was designed intentionally for children 3 to 5 years old to use independently and freely explore. They have the choice of who they want to send a message to. So, whatever important adults in their lives are connected, they can choose which people they want to share a message with. And I'll talk a little more about this later, but messages also always go to the classroom teacher. So, they can choose to send a message to the teacher, which is always fun when you see what they choose to send. But everything, no matter what, always goes to the teacher. Educators that decide to implement Message from Me in their classrooms are they have 6 hours of professional learning available to them. So that can come in the form of kind of one-on-one coaching around using it, or if you have a group of teachers in your area that are using it, there can be a full professional development, but that's also free of charge. And this is really intentionally designed. Everybody always asks if you have family members that can reply to messages. It's intentionally designed to be one-sided. So the child sends that message and it goes to the companion caregiver app that the important adults will download and have to their phone, which is also free. They can save the messages through there. They get reminders to talk about the messages. And that's the purpose of this, for that in-person or telephone, if it's somebody that's far away, engagement around those messages once they're reunited with the child. It's not to send, like we have a lot of apps that I know teachers use, which are great for communication and parent engagement, but this is really to increase that interaction outside of school as well. So we know, grown-ups pick up and they ask kids, how was your day? What did you do? And, oh, I played, or, oh, I don't know, I had fun, I ate lunch. This helps them get those specifics because children will share a lot more in those messages. I always add this in because this is kind of what grounded the design of Message from Me, the NAEYC Fred Rogers Center position statement around digital technologies. I won't read this to you, but this was really sort of what guided their thoughts around that one-sided communication where the children are sending the message out for then later engagement with their grown-ups, what format the message would be in. So it's that still picture of whatever is important to them in their day, and then that recorded message for the child to describe why that is important or special to them, or what they want the grown-up to know about that. So when we're thinking about the overarching goal of this tool, it's to connect children in the classroom with their caregivers and families. But there's lots of other student benefits that we've learned come from that. First and foremost, the communication and language skills. So children are talking, they're recording those messages, they're hearing themselves build that language. So they might say something and listen back and think, oh, that doesn't make sense, or no, that's not what I wanted to say. And it gives them the opportunity to change that. It's also great if you have multi-language learners in your spaces. They can send messages in their home language, which I had that experience in my classroom, and it really made those families where English wasn't their first language, it made them feel a part of our classroom space in a way that I couldn't, not speaking their home language. It builds the digital proficiency and well-being of children as well as their independence, because really the goal is, once you teach the children how to use it and front load all the information you want them to have around message sending, they're doing it independently. They're deciding what's important to them. They're sharing that in a way that's meaningful for them. It develops and strengthens their voice, so they're empowered to share those messages. They're empowered to go and do that on their own, or even help their friends send messages if a friend is struggling with, the process. It really builds their voice. And it also helps you as a teacher, which I'll talk about in the teacher benefits, but it helps you get to know them better because you really get to hear what's important to them and why in their words. It builds their self-confidence, problem solving, and critical thinking when navigating sending those messages. And it's high quality active engagement with technology versus that passive consumption. So we know when we're working with technology and young children, it's best to have active engagement that's meaningful versus just sitting and staring at a screen or playing a game. And then the teacher or educator benefits is data collection. So data's like the bane of my existence sometimes in the classroom, but it is a necessary evil. We all have to collect that data. And as I said, all of the messages go to the teacher. So there is a teacher end of the platform where you can download all of the messages that were sent, whether you just want the photos for to print the pictures to use in your classroom or to add to a portfolio. But you also get those voice clips, which is really impactful if you have a child that maybe has some language delays or you have those English language learners. You have tangible evidence of their language growth through those voice messages that you can download and use. That leads into the portfolio building. You can use the pictures as evidence in portfolios. The awareness of implicit bias, so that goes to the student voice. In a lot of the ways that we communicate home to families, whether we're taking pictures, sending messages, often the teacher is in control of that. So while that's wonderful, it's still the teacher voice. It's the teacher deciding what's important. It's the teacher sending that message, typing that message into Brightwheel or whatever platform you're using. This is 100% the student saying what's important to them and why, without any teacher involvement. It deepens your connection to the students because through those messages, you really do get an understanding of who they are and what they're capable of, and also what they're interested in. It strengthens your relationships with the caregivers and families. Families really do love receiving these messages, and then they end up talking to the classroom's teacher about it. So it's a really great way to build relationship. And if you have the benefit of knowing where your preschoolers are transitioning to kindergarten, it's a really great kindergarten transition tool. I actually had that luxury in my classroom because my pre-K classroom was attached to an elementary school. So most of my students went to the kindergarten there. And around January, after we came back from winter break, I would always add the kindergarten teachers as people that the children could send messages to that would be transitioning so that they could get to know the kindergarten teachers. And those kindergarten teachers were wonderful. They would then come over, not daily, but once a week or so, or if they saw us on the playground, and they would talk to the children about the messages they shared. So it was a really great tool in that way. So I just threw a lot of information at you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so we can just talk about it. You could ask any questions and I can share a little bit more about my story around using Message from Me. Okay. It's very disconcerting when I can't see anyone.
We did have a lot of people join throughout your presentation. I put a little bit of a blurb in the chat box what they missed. However, if you want to rewatch the beginning of this, it is being recorded. If you caught something but maybe didn't catch the whole thing, please feel free to ask questions.
Yes, please. And I always love sharing that kind of my journey with Message from Me. So before joining Trying Together, I was a preschool teacher for Pittsburgh Public Schools for close to 20 years. And my classroom was actually one of the pilot sites when Message from Me was first developed in like 2010. And I will be honest, I was the anti-technology teacher. I did not want screens in my classroom. And that was way back in 2010 when screens weren't what they are today. So, and it was kind of just thrown at us. Without a lot of deep training, it was just like, here's this tool and it's being sponsored by PNC Grow. Great. We would love all of you to try it. And I didn't see the value in it. And I'll be honest, I didn't really use it. Move forward 5 or 6 years and I transitioned schools, and my principal there actually had a partnership with Create Lab, who developed this. And they came in and worked with all of the teachers pre-K through 5 on kind of using digital technologies intentionally. And they talked to us about the design of their different tools that they use. And I really learned about Message from Me and why it was created and how it was created. And I learned about that intentionality, and the purpose was, all of the things I just shared, that really creating a strong connection to home and giving children agency and independence. And I loved it. It was all about understanding that intentionality. I learned how to front load the information so that my students could freely use it. I just had the iPad kind of hanging on a hook in my classroom. And families loved it. It really did. All of the things I said were from my experience. Those were the benefits that I found as a teacher. So this is definitely a tool that I absolutely love. So anybody have any questions or concerns or anything, I'm happy to chat now.
Wonder if you could walk us through if somebody was interested in taking this back to
Okay.
their program, how to have that conversation or maybe next steps.
So if you're interested, getting signed up is really easy. I'm going to pop my email in the chat. You can reach out to me directly, or you can visit the website, which I'll also pop in there. And you just, there's a form you fill out if you go through the Message from Me website, but it's very easy. If you need the iPads, that's kind of our first step, is making sure you have the technology that you need. Most classrooms will qualify for that grant. The only stipulations around it, of course, any Head Start classrooms will qualify. If you have any friends or partners that are not Head Start classrooms and you think they might be interested, as long as they serve a majority of low-income families, they will also qualify. They just have to be in a PNC serving area. So that is all of Pennsylvania, PNC Bank, PNC Grove Great. That is one of their stipulations. Because it is PNC funded, we actually are just outside of Pennsylvania as well. So we have a lot of people in Utah, in Florida, Indiana, many states using it, but we really would like to see increased engagement for the Pennsylvania region. This really truly was developed for Head Start populations. That was the key demographic when this was developed. So again, we make sure you have the technology you need. We get those iPads sent out, and then really it's me or my colleague, Carrie and Wise, working one-on-one with the teacher or the center director to get it implemented. We support in getting the classroom loaded, that whole process. It's very easy. It's very intuitive once you go through it, but we kind of do that step by step to help everybody get going, because that's usually the most challenging part, is getting started.
I wonder what hesitancies or concerns people might have. And Nancy, I see you raise your hand. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I know I missed the part of this. We were just breaking up from a staff meeting, but I wanted to ask, and I know I missed it. The technology that you're speaking of, is this for the child or it's for the child?
It's for the child. So it is for, the idea behind it is the classroom will be provided, if they don't already have one, with an iPad. You download the app. The teacher sets up their classroom, and there are activities that we provide, but I mean, teachers are capable. You just kind of teach the children about it and how to use it. And I'm happy to walk through the process I personally used for that. But yeah, the idea is that the children are independently sending those messages home. The teacher does not have to be involved.
So our kids have iPads.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a way just for them to get that app or that information?
So we learned kind of through trial and error that it really is best if you have a designated iPad in your classroom that is just for message sending. Because when the children we did have a classroom that put it on all the iPads the children had, and they sent them home. And it was really funny because the children in the classroom would use it for its intended purpose, and they would only send messages to their grownups, and they would send really appropriate messages. But when they were able to access it at home, all of those rules sort of went out the window, and they were sending messages to other children's families, and it kind of got a little chaotic. I'm not saying that's always the case, but we really do recommend that it is an in-classroom tool. Does that make sense?
It does, but I was just wondering if the kids could bring their iPads. But I guess once you put the app on it and they
Mhm.
take it back home, then they can do whatever they want. I got you.
Yes, yes. So if you don't have, if the classroom doesn't have its own dedicated iPad that's just for the classroom, we could support in getting that so that that one iPad is the message iPad.
Okay. So what do you do about your non-speaking English students?
That we encourage them to send messages home in their home language.
Okay.
Which is really the beauty of it, that they are able to do that. That way, that family also, because we know that's the struggle with family engagement with our non-English speakers. They don't really feel connected, but this would be a way for them to feel connected. And then it's really great because you get to see that language development. I don't know if you heard this part of the presentation, but my classroom was an ESL site. And so I got to track their language growth because you can download the voice clips because the teacher gets every message sent. So you can download those voice clips and you can see their language development from September through December and have that evidence there. So it's really great for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
I really like too, Shelley, if you recall the story about the dad learning about different ways to engage with his child because his child was taking different photos.
Yes, yes. I had a father in my classroom that really kind of wasn't sure how to interact with his child. And, you know, dad worked a lot, but he wasn't able to come to a lot of the school events and the family engagement, but it was through those messages that he learned that, you know, what his child was doing and what he was interested in school, and was able to talk to him about that and bring some of those activities into their home, which was really wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's a huge aspect for me. So I'm a special instructor with early intervention, and a lot of the times I'm teaching parents how to play,
Mhm.
because if nobody played with them as a child, they really don't know how to play with their child as a child. So a lot of the times it is just brainstorming and thinking of creative ways to encourage that interaction. So being able to see what it is your child's doing in school that they're super interested in, then it gives you a bit more context of how to engage in a way that they're interested in.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, a lot of teachers aren't sure how to get started. When I had it in my classroom, you know, I spent, you know, the first probably month, like at circle time, we talked about messages and what does it mean to send a message. And I incorporated mail into it. And we talked about, well, what kind of mail do you like to receive? Do you like to receive mail that makes you feel good? Do you like to receive mail that makes you excited? What kind of, you know, messages could you include in mail? So kind of talking that through. Not that we don't want them sharing, you know, they're something sad or something that's making them angry, because that will happen and that's important as well. But just talking to them about those messages. And then, you know, we practiced taking pictures. I used a empty picture frame because children are really good at taking video, the moving video, but still shots are a skill for them to learn. So we practiced taking still shots. And then we talked about, well, do we want to take a picture of the empty carpet? Is that something that grandma wants to see? Or do you think she wants to see the block structure you built? So we went through all of that and really talking about that. And then we talked about, I mean, the teachers can create any kind of ground rules around use that is appropriate for their classroom. I had very few rules, but we don't send messages to other people's grownups. Like we only click on our own picture, and that was never an issue because we kind of set that up that way. And also, we don't take pictures of friends without permission. So those were kind of our ground rules. And we practiced that within our circle time, and we talked about that. And then we would start taking pictures as a group. So, you know, everybody was taking a turn, taking a picture and sending a message. Before, I didn't just put it out there and let them freely take messages on day one. But it was a really great part of our classroom. And actually, when I took this position, I reached out to a parent who I became friends with because I had all 4 of his children in my classroom, and let him know like I was doing this. And he immediately, and his oldest is in 7th grade now, but he sent me voice clips and pictures of his son that he had saved from the message from me. So he has those little He's when his son is getting sassy the way preteens do, he has that little 3-year-old sweet voice sending him a message still saved in his phone.
Hi, Shelley. This is Kiara. And I actually used to be your family services
Yes.
specialist from
Hi,
Brashear. How
Kiara.
are you? It's nice to see you.
You too.
I guess my question essentially is, are you able to share how this differentiates from like Class Dojo or Talking Points, which are some of the apps that we're currently already using in the classrooms, and how family services specialists, someone in my position, would be able to encourage our teachers to use it if it is different? And are we able to utilize this platform as well? Out of curiosity.
I mean, your last question first, I don't see why you couldn't set it up with all of the children that are under, in all the classrooms you serve. I'm sure you could do that. I think I saw Amanda was on this call as well. But I think I had actually sent RFSS up as somebody our children could send a message to, because they all knew Miss Amanda and they would want to send her messages. So yes, we can figure out a way to set it up so that you have a classroom, if you would like, if you work closely with some of the kids. The way it's different is that this is designed for children to use. So Class Dojo and Seesaw and Brightwheel and all of those things, Talking Points, are teacher led. So the teacher is sending the message. It's really teacher parent communication, which is great. This is specifically for the children to independently send the messages to their family. So it's the child's voice, not the teacher's.
That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And if you want me to stop by, since you're local, I can bring an iPad over to you and we can go through it together if you want.
Yeah, that would be cool. And I have an iPad, so I'm not sure
Great.
it's an app we could just put on the iPad that I have. But yeah, thank you.
Yes, and actually, I see a lot of Pittsburgh Public friends are on this call. I was told that it was actually pushed to all Pittsburgh Public iPads. It was in the collection of apps you're able to download. If that's not the case, we can make that happen again. But yeah, it's free to download. You just need me to create an account for you.
That's the point that I was going to reiterate. It's free.
Yes. It is free. It is 100% free. Create Lab, I've had this conversation with them many times. They never intend to monetize this in any way because it is for classroom use and they want teachers to have access to it. So yeah, you just have to go through either me or the Message from Me website to create an account, because they want to make sure that it is being used by classrooms.
We do have a child care provider here. Same thing for them. They can also utilize it.
Absolutely,
It's not
yes.
just Head Start.
It is not just Head Start. That was just the target, that was the population of children that was kind of the pilot group. So
Any other questions or comments we can think of?